Hey there everyone, it's GG Sober Sun. April 15th. AA Thought for the Day from the 24-Hour Day book reading. Terrible things could have happened to any one of us. We never will know what might have happened to us when we were drunk. We usually thought, that couldn't happen to me. But any one of us could have killed somebody or have been killed ourselves if we were drunk enough. But fear of these things never kept us from drinking. Do I believe that in AA we have something more effective than fear? Yeah, I had a sponsor at one point when I was in England who he had 20-some years of sobriety, got sober in prison, and he was in prison because he got drunk, and in blackout he strangled his then wife. So that, to me, I think was one of the reasons I asked him to be my sponsor. He was so mellow, for one thing, but he also seemed to have a serenity about him, and that he could have that serenity in the midst of the horrific thing that he did. Some would say it made sense that he get and stay sober after doing that when he drank, but man, sometimes I know I drank for relief, from my own regrets, my own mistakes. And for an alcoholic, that's what we do. That's exactly what we do, right? It takes an act of God for us to do otherwise. I remember one time I had some guests over for a New Year's Eve gathering, and we had board games and stuff like that to do, and they just didn't seem interested at all in doing that. But they brought like a handle bottle of Bacardi or something like that, and the mother of my children drank, so I was getting ready to go in and get a refill for my soft drink in the kitchen, and asked if anybody else wanted something, and somebody asked for another Bacardi and Coke or whatever. And as a good host, I went ahead and did that, knowing that, I have freedom over alcohol. But as I was pouring the drink, I thought, these people are really boring. They seem super boring. And I remembered at that time what I did in Scotland for New Year's, years prior to getting sober. I was carrying a Boda bag of whiskey, and we couldn't find a hotel, so we were there walking the streets of Edinburgh, bored, miserable. It was drizzling, it was cold, it was just absolutely miserable. And I thought, well, I know what'll change this. And I started just like chugging the whiskey, and and I made my own party kind of thing, and I ended up pissing a lot of people off and wandering around, and I know I blacked out, and brief snatches of memory come back, walking into like an apartment complex that was under construction, and walking around and chasing some kid around, acting like I was like a juvenile detention guy or something. It was just really dreadful. And I pissed off one of the guys that I was, I went up there with. But at the moment that I was pouring the drink for my neighbor, years later, having been sober, let's see, this was 2000, so 6, 7, maybe 8 years sober, I thought, I know what could change the mood of this party. And it wouldn't change them, it would just change me, right? And immediately that thought was supplanted by all the misery that came from the last time I had that thought, which is what AA taught me. Fast forward the tape, roll the tape forward and see how that ends, buddy. And it didn't end well, obviously. I didn't ruin friendships, but I scared the crap out of that kid. He was like 16 years old, and I thought he shouldn't be on the streets wandering around, kind of thing, Anyway, but knowing that sponsor had gotten through, he got sober in prison, right? And he was there to tell the tale, and there to be a living example of what it meant to get and stay sober. In the face of that memory, of that terrible thing that he did while it was, the thing that he did happened to be when he was drunk, but, that's what we do. We drink our feelings. I drank my feelings, for sure. I wanted to numb out. I didn't want to be a part of, I didn't want people. I didn't want to adult. You know what I mean? Just the simplest little things like straightening out an issue with my bank account. I would just let it slide until it became a really huge problem. Drinking was more important to me than learning how to adult. And the military really helped with that, because I'd get myself into a financial situation, and then I would get orders to move to another base. And then I would get money to help me solve the problem at that base, and then go to the next base, keep on drinking and create more financial problems, and then leave that base, pay off all my debts, and go on. It was like a clean slate every time I moved. So that was not helpful. AA definitely has something more effective than fear, right? Hope and love is what I experienced in AA. And even after the very first meeting that I went to at the age of 16, I knew where to go if it ever got, that bad, whatever that is, right? If it ever got bad enough that it was time to quit, I knew where to go. And I'm super grateful for that, that opportunity to experience AA at a young age. And I attribute that to the fact that I got sober just before my 24th birthday. And it's super helpful, to remember that on a regular basis. Meditation for the day. I must keep calm and unmoved in the vicissitudes of life. Oh, good big word. I must go back into the silence of communion with God to recover this calm when it is lost, even for one moment. I will accomplish more by this calmness than by all the activities of a long day. At all costs, I will keep calm. I can solve nothing when I'm agitated. I should keep away from things that are upsetting emotionally. I don't know about that. I should run on an even keel and not get tipped over by emotional upsets. I should seek for things that are calm and good and true and stick to those things. You know, sometimes we have to be challenged emotionally, right? I don't think we have to keep away from things that are upsetting emotionally, right? It's just that we must maintain, we can maintain serenity in emotional storms, right? We can grieve. We can get angry, right? But when they're inappropriate emotions, we can, as again, I'm going to reference the 10th step process of ask God at once to remove it. Talk to someone about it. Make amends if necessary, if they say, yeah, amends is necessary, right? And then we turn our thoughts to someone we can help. So the emotional upset or the grief or the hard times at work can drive us into helping others, where we can experience relief. But if we don't turn it over to God first, we're probably acting out of codependency, right? We have to be grounded in God when we do. I should say, we don't have to, but it's better when we are grounded in God's guidance. We turn to God when emotions flare up, when these crop up: selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, or fear. We ask God at once to remove it. You talk to someone about it. Make amends if necessary, and turn our thoughts to someone we can help. We don't avoid it, right? We don't avoid tense situations or keep away from things that are upsetting emotionally. We address them. God doesn't say that we're miracled away from emotions, right? That we keep ourselves away from things. He equips us with what we need. And if we have to have a hard conversation about something that continually causes us to flare up with our spouse, at work, or something like that, He gives us the courage to address it. We don't avoid it. Because if we do, we're liable to act out in one way or another. Whether we snap at somebody, whether we, right? Pick up a drink, compulsive overeating, look to something else, pornography, extramarital affair, or something like that. We're liable to act out in that way. Now, obviously, it's easier said than done, right? When in my former marriage, when I found myself acting out in terrible ways, and I don't know about terrible, but in ways that were unhelpful and unfruitful, I couldn't identify what was going on with me. I really couldn't. And we sought several marriage and family counselors over the years and couldn't get to the bottom of it, apparently. But God was in the midst of it. And had I continued to pursue God at the level I once had in my recovery, I'm sure I would have come to a conclusion and we could have addressed it directly. And we did. I shouldn't say that. We did. I did. I did my part. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may not argue nor contend, but merely state calmly what I believe to be true. That's exactly what we're talking about. I pray that I may keep myself in that state of calmness that comes from faith in God's purpose for the world. Well, at least faith in God's purpose for me, right? And as I continue to strive for that, that's going to cause a ripple effect out from me, right? When it talks about any time, where was it? That I must go back, and this is in the meditation portion, I must go back into the silence of communion with God to recover this calm when it is lost even for one moment. Well, it only takes a moment, a breath, really, to reconnect with God. Or, as it says in the book, several times throughout the day, we say to ourselves, your will, not mine, be done. Your will be done. Whenever we get bound up. So, God is only a breath away. God is only a statement away. He is right with us. He's omnipresent. He fills every fiber of our being. All we have to do is become aware of that, acknowledge that, and surrender. We don't just do it in the morning, we do it throughout the day. It's available to us, for sure. But that's all I've got for today, folks. I love you. Keep coming back. And if any of you locals have other awesome scenery locations like this, let me know. And I'll do the next one from there. Love you. Keep coming back. Look up. Aim up. Rise up.